Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Obviously, Tennessee has a huge opportunity. Bounce back game coming up on Saturday night inside Neyland Stadium. Checker Neyland night game, rivalry game. Going to be an electric atmosphere. And I think they have an opportunity to go out and prove something on Saturday night. A bounce back game. We've heard all the talk, right? What went down last week in practice, lackadaisical. They're saying and doing all the right things now. But you got to go out on the field and you got to prove it. But look, this is also a huge opportunity in recruiting. When we look at the class of 25 and you go back to last year, the environment for the Georgia game, and yeah, that game didn't go Tennessee's way. The year prior, you talk about a picture-perfect opportunity for recruiting, beating Alabama, storming the field, ripping the goalpost down, throwing them in the river. We see these kids talk about these games as we move forward in recruiting. You've got a huge opportunity in the class of 25. Guys that are currently committed, guys like David Sanders, George McIntyre, Travis Smith, all going to be in town this weekend for the Florida game. You also got guys in the class of 26, guys that haven't been on campus before. This is where you lay the groundwork. This is where you make that impression with an opportunity in these class of 26 prospects. Take a look at this. This is a list from an article over at volquest.com highlighting the group of visitors that are going to be on Rocky Top over the next month. Just a who's who, a long list. And again, Tennessee has been on the road. Tennessee has not been home since they played Kent State back on September the 14th. So again, huge opportunity coming up on Saturday night, Checker Neyland night game, electric environment. Let's make an impression on some of these kids. I want to highlight a couple of guys in the class of 26, big-time prospects. We talk about recruiting, right? Starts with the quarterback. Josh Heupel's done a great job recruiting the quarterback position. You went out and you got Nico Iamaleava, number one player in the country. Jake Merklinger. Man, it is a tough pull to go get a quarterback and say, hey, you're going to come in and you're going to sit behind Nico. You're going to sit under the learning tree. Oh, and by the way, we got George McIntyre coming in the class of 25. We got Faison Brandon, the number one player in the class of 26, already committed. Josh Heupel's done a great job recruiting at the quarterback position. But after that, you got to recruit guys to protect the quarterback, like David Sanders, and you got to recruit guys to get after the quarterback, like Jordan Ross. Again, Rodney Garner's done a great job. We can talk about offensive line recruiting. Glenn Ellerby missing early, but I think he's done a good job in this class, in the class of 25, also in the class of 24. So let's move ahead and let's talk about some guys that get after the quarterback and protect the quarterback in the class of 26. Before we do that, I need you guys to do that YouTube stuff for me. Just smash the thumbs up just below the video. It's quick, it's free, it's easy. It helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if it's your first time on the channel, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're not reporters. We're not journalists. We don't pretend to be any of that. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You won't miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. Going to be live tomorrow morning, Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time for Talkin VAWLS Live, the morning show with Coach Jay. We're going to get you geared up, ready to go for that Florida game coming up on Saturday. We'll do a tailgate show an hour before kickoff, and then we'll be live immediately following the game. But let's get into it. Let's talk about a couple of class of 26 kids that are going to be on campus this weekend. Let's first start with the offensive side of the ball. Let's start with the offensive side, offensive tackle, Emmanuel Aano. And you can say, look at David Sanders, right? 5-star offensive tackle, number one tackle in the class of 2025. If you piggyback that, this is how you start to build depth and competition, right? We've talked about what Rodney Garner has done with that defensive line, and it's impressive. And we are starting to catch up in other position groups like the wide receiver room, like the linebacker room. But you got to do it across the board, every position group. And I think you got David Sanders. You got Bennett Warren. You've got some guys on that offensive line that are young, and you hope that Glenn Ellerby is going to be able to develop them and get them ready to go. But you can see there on the screen, on three recruits puts out 2026 5-star plus offensive tackle Emmanuel Aano will visit Tennessee's game on Saturday against the Florida Gators. Let me go over and take a look at his profile here, get it pulled up on the screen, and we'll take a look at what he brings to the table as a prospect. Again, 5-star plus. What that means, he's a 5-star across the board on 247 Sports, ESPN, and Rivals. You can see there 6'6.5", 350 pounds out of Baltimore, Maryland. The scouting report from Hudson Standish over at 247 Sports says supremely powerful offensive lineman who wears his verified 6'6.5", 350-pound listing extremely well. Owns some of the longest arms in the 26 cycle, has better than expected lower body explosiveness at his size. Primarily works at offensive tackle, but will likely be limited to the right side or could slide inside to the interior offensive line, depending on how his body develops over the next few years. You look at who we have on campus. I know there's a lot of criticism around Lance Hurd right now. He's been beat up. I don't know that he's in football shape. He's also young, right? He's got a lot of football in front of him. You got David Sanders committed. So having a guy that can play that right side, maybe slide to the interior, I like it. Goes on to say here, presents an incredibly difficult problem for opposing front seven defenders to solve thanks to his massive reach and top tier power in the hands that can flatten well put together defensive linemen. Will need to improve his ankle and hip flexibility, but even with some stiffness in his lower half, still athletic enough to dominate on Friday night lights and the offseason camp circuit. Checks multi-sport boxes with skillful basketball tape, rare elite football prospect that boards at the renowned Georgetown Preparatory School. Somebody, defenders look to avoid in the run game, especially at the second level. Could potentially become an immediate impact player for a college football playoff contender in the run game. Should be viewed as an intriguing offense at right tackle or interior offensive line with plenty of long-term NFL draft upside that pairs nicely with ready to contribute heft. Here's a quote from him. Said he likes Oregon a lot. He talks to Oregon. He talks to Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Miami, Tennessee, Auburn, Texas every now and then. Says Wisconsin every now and then Clemson. But the big thing is he's not been on campus yet, right? He's not been to Neyland Stadium. He's not been to Knoxville. Matt Ray put out an update at the end of last month and said the Vols really like this prospect. They really like Ianocho, but he needs to visit in order for Tennessee to get traction. And I get it. It's early in the process, guys. It is early in the process for this class of 26, but I want to bring you the big fish. I want to bring you the guys that Tennessee is going to work on, the guys that we could be talking a whole lot about when we get into January, when we get into next summer. It's hard to cover recruiting throughout the course of the season, but I want to keep you guys up to date with some of the big prospects that we're working on. That's an offensive tackle. Let's go look at the edge position. Another 5-star in the class of 26, Zion Elely. You can see here Tom Loya, 247 Sports, tweets out change of plans for the 5-star edge Zion Elely. Instead of visiting Rutgers this weekend, the elite talent from the class of 26 is headed to Knoxville to visit Tennessee. Now, we'll get his profile on the screen and talk about him as well. But again, you want quarterbacks. You want guys to protect the quarterback, and you want guys that get after the quarterback. And we all know what Rodney Garner can do with this talent. We know what he can do on the recruiting trail. We know what he can do with development. We're seeing it. This defensive line is dominant. It's the strength of this football team right now. Zion Elely, 6'3", 220 pounds. You can see their 5-star on 3 industry rankings, top 10 player. 6'3", 220 out of St. Francis Academy in Maryland. That's an elite program. Dropped his top 5 earlier in the year. He said Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Penn State. But now he's decided he wants to take a look at some other programs. Now, something worth noting here is his teammate, 3-star defensive lineman Darian Smith, currently committed to Tennessee. He committed back in July. How much is that a factor here? Is that kind of opening the door, getting your foot in the door to get Zion Elely on campus? Just another big visit, right? A guy that's not been here before. And now you've got an opportunity when you've got an electric environment with the Gators in town to make that impression. This is a scouting report for Zion Elely, also comes from 247 Sports. One of the more elite, complete edge prospects in recent memory at this stage of the evaluation process ahead of his junior year. Feels as if he was built in a lab to get after the quarterback. Verified hovering around 6'4", 220. With elite length measurements and combine testing profile that could be mistaken for a field stretching X receiver. That's athleticism. It says verified athletic markers are good enough to compare favorably against top 247 caliber senior edge rushers from the past 2 recruiting cycles. This kid's going into his junior season when this scouting report came out, and they're comparing him to guys a year older than him. It says outside of the athletic traits, has a natural feel for the position that allowed him to rack up 13 sacks in only 9 games, even though his bag of pass rushing moves isn't deep at this stage. Building blocks of his game are his lightning quick first step, closing burst, ideal reactionary athleticism. Laterally explosive and can quickly move gap to gap or chase down ball carriers from the weak side. Motor consistently runs hot, and there might not be a better edge rusher in the 26 cycle. Says currently works as more of a new age speed rusher who can occasionally work speed to power, but owns the frame to put on weight and develop into a complete product while retaining the tools that make him unique. Will face a step up in competition as a junior after transferring. Says here he should be viewed as a potential instant impact 3-4 outside linebacker at the next level who could eventually put on a show at the NFL Combine. Man, you look at what Rodney Garner's done with the edge position. Byron Young, James Pierce. Joshua Josephs, Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross. I mean, it is a factory of dudes. And I would like to add Zion Elely to that factory of dudes. I think he could do great things under Coach Rodney Garner. Again, big weekend for recruiting coming up. A lot of the guys from the class of 25 going to be in town, but a couple of elite prospects are coming to Rocky Top this weekend. Again, I get it. It's early in the process, but I want to get these names out there. Try to do a better job covering recruiting throughout the course of the year. Just been kind of quiet. Because, again, we've not been at home since Kent State on September the 14th. You had the NC State game, which was at a neutral site. So it's going to be good to get back home for this Florida game, get back home for the Alabama game, get some recruits in town. And let's make that first impression, show them what Rocky Top is all about. What do you guys think? Jump in the comment section and talk about it. As always, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. You can go check out the official merchandise of the Talkin VAWLS Network at bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You want to help the channel, hit that join button over there. Right beside subscribe says join, just $1. It's $1 a month. There's strength in numbers. We get you guys to donate that dollar. That's what allows this channel to keep running. Look, like I said, we're not media. We're not experts. We don't work for the man. We work for you. And without you, this channel does not exist. So think about hitting that join button. We would appreciate it. If not, smash the thumbs up. That's quick, free, and easy. Jump to the comment section. Let's talk about it because this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.